What happens when two strong personalities collide on live television and neither one is willing to back down? The answer is pure chaos. And that is exactly what unfolded when Penn Badgley sat across from Jennifer Hudson on her daytime talk show. What started as a routine celebrity interview quickly spiraled into one of the most uncomfortable and heated exchanges in daytime television history. The tension was palpable, the words were sharp, and by the end, security had to get involved. Before we dive into every explosive moment, make sure you hit that subscribe button and drop a comment below telling us whose side you are on in this whole situation. Trust me, you are going to have opinions. Jennifer Hudson welcomed Penn onto her stage with her signature warm smile and that powerhouse energy she brings to every interview. The audience applauded as Penn walked out, waving briefly before taking his seat. Jennifer started with what seemed like an innocent question about his latest project, a psychological thriller that had been getting mixed reviews from critics, but strong audience reactions. "So, Penn, your new film has people talking," Jennifer began, leaning forward with genuine interest. "It's dark, it's intense, and it's definitely not what people expect from you. What drew you to this role?" Penn shifted in his seat, a small smile playing at his lips. "Well, Jennifer, I think that is exactly why I was drawn to it. People have expectations, and I find those expectations to be pretty limiting. As an actor, I am not interested in being comfortable or safe. I want to challenge myself and challenge audiences." Jennifer nodded along, but there was something in Penn's tone that seemed slightly dismissive, almost condescending. "That is great," she responded. "But some critics have said the film glorifies some pretty disturbing behavior. How do you respond to that?" Penn's smile faded just slightly. "I think that is a surface-level reading of the material. Anyone who actually watches the film and engages with it critically would understand that we are not glorifying anything. We are examining the psychology of broken people. There is a difference between depiction and endorsement. And I think a lot of critics miss that distinction." The audience was quiet now, sensing a shift in energy. Jennifer's smile remained fixed, but her eyes had changed. "I hear what you are saying, but as someone with a massive platform, do you not think you have a responsibility to consider how your work might be interpreted, especially by younger viewers?" Penn leaned back, crossing his arms. "Jennifer, with all due respect, I think that question presupposes that audiences are not intelligent enough to think for themselves. My responsibility as an actor is to tell truthful stories, not to parent the audience. People are capable of critical thinking." Jennifer's jaw tightened slightly. "I am not questioning anyone's intelligence, Penn. I am asking about responsibility. There is a difference. You have young fans who look up to you, who followed you from your earlier work. Do you not feel any obligation to them?" "My obligation," Penn said, his voice taking on an edge, "is to my craft. I cannot make creative decisions based on what someone's parents think is appropriate. That is not art. That is pandering." The air in the studio was thick now. Jennifer sat up straighter, her professional demeanor still intact but clearly tested. "Pandering. So, you think being mindful of your influence is pandering?" Penn let out a small laugh that came across as patronizing. "I think that artists throughout history have faced this exact criticism. Should filmmakers only make movies that are safe and comfortable? Should writers only write stories that do not challenge people? I refuse to participate in that kind of creative cowardice." Jennifer's eyes flashed. Creative cowardice. That is interesting coming from someone who built their career on a teen drama. "Let us not act like you have been making avant-garde cinema your whole life." The audience gasped audibly. Penn's face hardened. "Wow. Okay. So, because I started on a television show, my opinions about art are somehow less valid. That is incredibly dismissive." "Jennifer, I am not dismissing you," Jennifer shot back, her voice rising slightly. "I am pointing out the irony in you lecturing me about creative integrity when you spent years on a show that was literally designed for young viewers. You benefited from that platform, and now you want to act like you are above considering who watches your work." Penn leaned forward, his voice sharp. "I never said I was above anything. What I said was that I refused to let other people's expectations dictate my choices. And frankly, I find it pretty rich that you are coming at me about this when your show is literally designed to be as palatable and non-threatening as possible." The studio fell silent. Jennifer stared at Penn for a long moment. And when she spoke, her voice was ice cold. "Excuse me?" Penn did not back down. "You heard me. This show, this whole setup, it is engineered to make people feel good without actually saying anything meaningful. So for you to sit there and question my artistic choices when you have built your brand on being safe and agreeable, it is just hypocritical. Jennifer's professionalism was hanging by a thread. Penn, you do not know anything about what I have built or what I stand for. You have been on my show for 10 minutes, and you think you can judge what I do. That is incredibly arrogant. I am not judging, Penn said, though his tone suggested otherwise. I am simply pointing out that you are asking me to consider my platform while you use yours to never take any real risks. When was the last time you had a genuinely challenging conversation on this show? When was the last time you said something that might make your audience uncomfortable? Jennifer's hand gripped the armrest of her chair. You do not get to come onto my show and tell me how to do my job. You do not know what conversations I have or what I stand for when the cameras are not rolling. But the cameras are always rolling, Penn countered. That is my point. Everything is curated. Everything is safe, and that is fine. That is your choice. But do not sit there and question my integrity when you have made a career out of avoiding anything controversial. The audience was completely silent now, watching this exchange like a tennis match from hell. Jennifer took a visible breath, clearly trying to maintain her composure. Penn, I invited you here as a guest with respect, and you have done nothing but disrespect me, my show, and what I have built. I ask you questions, and you turn it into an attack on me. I am not attacking you, Penn insisted. I am defending myself against your questions, which frankly felt judgmental from the start. You brought up critics. You brought up responsibility. You made this confrontational. I asked you a standard question about your film, Jennifer said, her voice rising again. That is what happens in interviews. Penn, people ask questions. The fact that you took it as an attack says more about you than it does about me. Penn shook his head. No, the way you framed it was clearly critical. You were not asking out of curiosity. You were challenging me. And when I responded honestly, you did not like it. I did not like it, Jennifer said slowly, because you came across as condescending and dismissive. You talk about intelligence and critical thinking, but you are speaking to me like I am incapable of understanding your deep, complex art. That is not what I am doing, Penn argued. But Jennifer cut him off. That is exactly what you are doing. Every answer you have given has had this tone of superiority. Like you are the only person in this room who understands real art. And now you are sitting here insulting my show, my work, and questioning whether I have meaningful conversations. Who do you think you are? Penn's face was flushed. Now I think I am someone who takes my work seriously and refuses to apologize for that. If that makes you uncomfortable, maybe that says something about your own insecurities. The gasp from the audience was louder this time. Jennifer stood up from her chair, something she never did in the middle of an interview. My insecurities? You do not know me, Penn. You do not know what I have been through or what I have overcome. You are sitting in a chair on my stage talking down to me. And now you want to psychoanalyze me? This interview is over. Penn remained seated, looking up at Jennifer with an expression that mixed surprise and defiance. You are ending the interview because I am being honest? That is professional. Jennifer turned to face him fully, her composure cracking in a way her audience had never seen before. No, I am ending this interview because you came here with an agenda. You did not come here to talk about your film or have a real conversation. You came here to prove something, and I am not going to be your punching bag while you do it. Penn stood up now too, matching her energy. I came here to do an interview, Jennifer. You are the one who made it personal. You are the one who brought up my past work like it somehow invalidates everything I have done since. You started this. I started this? Jennifer's voice cracked with disbelief. Penn, I asked you a simple question about critical reception of your film. That is literally my job. You could have answered it like a normal person, but instead you turned it into this whole thing about artistic integrity and how everyone else is too stupid to understand your vision. I never said anyone was stupid, Penn said, his voice rising to match hers. I said people are capable of critical thinking. You are the one who twisted that into something it was not. Jennifer pointed at him, her fingers shaking slightly. Do not gaslight me on my own show. I know what you said, and I know how you said it. You have been condescending from the moment you sat down. Every answer has been dripping with this attitude like you are doing me a favor by being here. Maybe I am, Penn shot back, and the audience audibly reacted. Maybe I should have known better than to come on a show that only wants softball questions and fake smiles. God forbid we have an actual substantive conversation about art and responsibility. Jennifer laughed, but there was no humor in it. Substantive? You think what just happened was substantive? You insulted me. You insulted my show. You questioned my integrity. And now you are acting like you are the victim here. That is not substance, Penn. That is ego. This is unbelievable, Penn muttered, running his hand through his hair. I came here in good faith, and you are making me out to be some kind of villain because I did not give you the answers you wanted. Good faith, Jennifer repeated, her voice sharp. Penn, you sat in that chair and told me my show is meaningless. You said I never take risks or have challenging conversations. You literally called my work non-threatening, as if that is an insult. How is any of that good faith? Penn threw his hands up. Because it is true. Look around, Jennifer. This whole set, this whole vibe, it is designed to be comfortable. There is nothing wrong with that, but do not pretend it is something it is not. You want happy stories, inspiring moments, and easy answers. That is your brand, but that is not real life. My brand, Jennifer said slowly, her eyes narrowing, is built on authenticity and connection. I have won an Academy Award, a Grammy, and I have built this show from the ground up by being myself and respecting my guests. You have been here for 15 minutes, and you think you have me figured out. That is not insight, Penn. That is arrogance. I am not being arrogant, Penn insisted. I am being honest. There is a difference. And the fact that you cannot handle honesty without getting defensive proves my point. Jennifer took a step closer to him. Do not tell me what I can and cannot handle. You do not know me. You do not know what I have handled in my life. You are a guest on my show, and you have been disrespectful from the start. I gave you a platform. I welcomed you here, and this is how you repay that. I do not owe you anything, Penn said flatly. You invited me here to promote my film, which benefits your show just as much as it benefits me. This is not a favor, Jennifer. This is how media works. And if you cannot handle a guest who pushes back on your framing, maybe you should stick to interviewing people who will just agree with everything you say. The audience was murmuring now. Some people clearly uncomfortable, others seemingly invested in the drama unfolding before them. Jennifer shook her head slowly, a bitter smile on her face. You know what, Penn? You are right about one thing. I should have known better. I should have known that someone who makes a career out of playing complicated, troubled characters might actually be one. Penn's eyes went cold. Wow. So now you are attacking me personally. That is what we are doing now. You attack me personally, Jennifer fired back. You questioned my integrity, my professionalism, and my purpose. You sat there and psychoanalyzed me, talked about my insecurities, and now you are upset that I am giving it back to you. You can dish it out, but you cannot take it. This is not the same thing, Penn argued. I was talking about your show, your creative choices. You are making this about who I am as a person. Jennifer laughed again. That same humorless sound. Your creative choices are who you are. Penn, you just spent 10 minutes telling me that you said your work reflects your values, your commitment to truth, your artistic integrity. So which is it? Are you your work or not? Because you cannot have it both ways. Penn was silent for a moment, his jaw working as he clearly tried to formulate a response. You are twisting everything I am saying. No, Jennifer said firmly. I am holding up a mirror, and you do not like what you see. You came here with all this talk about challenging audiences and refusing to be safe. But the second someone challenges you, you fall apart. Where is your critical thinking now, Penn? Where is your comfort with discomfort? This is not about comfort, Penn said through gritted teeth. This is about you turning a professional interview into a personal attack, because I did not kiss your ring. Jennifer's eyes widened. Kiss my ring? Is that what you think this is? Penn, I asked you about your movie. That is it. That is all I did. You are the one who escalated this at every single turn. You are the one who made it confrontational. And now you are blaming me for responding to your disrespect. I was not disrespectful, Penn maintained, though his voice lacked conviction. No, I was engaging with your questions critically. There is a difference. Critically, Jennifer's voice dripped with sarcasm. Is that what we are calling it? Because from where I am standing, it looked a lot more like you were trying to prove you were smarter than everyone else in this room. Every answer was designed to make yourself look intellectual and make me look shallow. That is not critical engagement, Penn. That is insecurity dressed up as superiority. Penn's face flushed red. You do not know what you are talking about. I think I do, Jennifer countered. I think you came here already defensive because your film got mixed reviews. I think you were looking for a fight from the moment you sat down. And when I asked a completely reasonable question about critical reception, you took it as an attack because that is what you wanted it to be. That is ridiculous, Penn said, but his voice wavered. You are making this about my psychology. Now that is ironic considering you just accused me of psychoanalyzing you. The difference, Jennifer said pointedly, is that I am basing this on what you have actually said and done in the last 20 minutes. You were basing your analysis of me on assumptions about my show and my character. You do not know me, Penn, but I am getting to know you pretty well right now. Penn shook his head, looking around the studio as if seeking support. This is insane. I cannot believe this is happening right now. Believe it, Jennifer said. Because this is what happens when you come on to someone's show and treat them with contempt. Did you think there would be no consequences? Did you think I would just sit there and let you talk down to me in front of my audience? I was not talking down to you, Penn weakly. I was having a conversation. That was not a conversation, Jennifer said firmly. A conversation requires mutual respect. What you did was lecture me while dismissing everything I said. That is not dialogue, Penn. That is a monologue disguised as an exchange. Penn was quiet for a moment, and then something shifted in his expression. Instead of backing down, he seemed to double down. You know what, Jennifer? Maybe you are right. Maybe I was dismissive. But maybe that is because I am tired of doing these interviews where everyone pretends to care about the work when really they just want sound bites and viral moments. You asked about the critics, but you did not actually care about my answer. You just wanted me to either defend myself or apologize. Jennifer stared at him in disbelief. So your solution was to insult me in my show? That was your big stand for authenticity? My solution, Penn said, his voice hard again, was to be honest about the limitations of this format. You want substance? Fine. The substance is that these interviews are theater. We both play our roles. We both say what we are supposed to say, and nothing real ever happens. I was trying to break through that by being disrespectful? Jennifer asked incredulously. By attacking me personally? That is your idea of breaking through? Penn, you did not break through anything. You just proved that you cannot handle a simple interview without making it about your own issues. Penn's expression hardened even more, his voice taking on a bitter edge. My own issues? You're going to sit there and act like a therapist while your audience watches? This is exactly what I am talking about. Everything becomes a spectacle. Jennifer crossed her arms, her stance firm and unyielding. You made this a spectacle, Penn, not me. I was trying to have a normal interview, and you turned it into whatever this is. And now you want to blame me for it. Normal interview? Penn scoffed. You sit there with your questions written by producers, your reactions calculated for the camera, and you expect me to just play along like a trained seal. I wanted something more real than that. Jennifer's voice dropped to a dangerously calm level. You want real? You are standing on my stage, disrespecting me in front of my audience, insulting my team, and acting like you are doing us all some kind of service by being difficult. That is real. Penn, I am being difficult because you came at me with judgment from the first question. Penn shot back. You wanted me to defend my film, to apologize for it. I am not going to do that. Jennifer stepped even closer, her eyes blazing. I asked you a question about how you respond to criticism. That is standard. Every guest gets asked about reviews. You are not special, Penn. You do not get to act like basic interview questions are some kind of attack. They are when they are asked with that tone, Penn countered. You already decided that my film was problematic, and you wanted me to either defend it or distance myself from it. Jennifer threw her hands up. I had not even seen your film. Penn, I was asking based on what critics said because that is my job. I did not have an agenda. You created one in your head and then punished me for it. You had not even seen it? Penn's voice rose sharply. You were questioning my choices without forming your own opinion. That is lazy. Jennifer's face showed genuine hurt. Lazy? I have a show to run, Penn. Multiple guests, multiple segments. I cannot watch every single movie before I interview someone. That is why we have research teams. That is how television works. Then maybe television is broken, Penn said flatly. Maybe we should all just admit that these interviews are meaningless. If they are so meaningless, Jennifer said, her voice shaking with anger, then why did you agree to come? Why did you waste your time and mine? You could have said no, Penn. Penn was quiet for a moment, and when he spoke, his voice was colder. I came here because my publicist told me to. This is part of the job, but that does not mean I have to pretend to enjoy it. Jennifer stared at him, and when she spoke, her voice was ice. Get out. Penn blinked. What? I said get out, Jennifer repeated louder. Get off my stage. This interview is over. You do not want to be here. You have made that clear. So leave. You are kicking me off your show? Penn asked, genuine surprise in his voice. "Are you serious?" "Dead serious," Jennifer said. "You have disrespected me, my team, my audience, and this entire process. You admitted you do not even want to be here. So go." Penn stood there, trying to process what was happening. You cannot just kick a guest off in the middle of an interview. "Watch me," Jennifer said. "This is my show, Penn. My name is on it, and I do not have to tolerate someone who treats me like garbage on my own stage. I am telling you to leave." The audience was completely silent, the tension suffocating. Penn looked around, perhaps expecting someone to intervene, but no one moved. The cameras kept rolling, capturing every second. "You are making a huge mistake," Penn said, his voice low. "Do you know how this is going to look?" Jennifer laughed. "You are threatening me with public opinion after everything you said about not caring what people think. You are worried about how this looks." Penn's face flushed darker. "That is not what I meant." "That is exactly what you meant," Jennifer said. "All that talk about authenticity, and at the end of the day, you care just as much about perception as everyone else." Penn took a step toward her, and immediately 2 security guards appeared from the wings. They did not touch him, but their presence was clear. Penn stopped, looking at the guards, and then back at Jennifer. "You called security?" "I did not call anyone," Jennifer said calmly. "They're doing their job right now. You are disrupting that." "I am not threatening anyone," Penn insisted. "This is absurd. You took a step toward me in an aggressive manner after 20 minutes of verbal attacks," Jennifer said evenly. "So yes, security is here, and they are going to escort you out if you do not leave on your own." Penn looked at the guards, then back at Jennifer. "Fine, I will leave, but people are going to see this. They are going to see how you could not take any pushback. They are going to see that I stood up for myself." Jennifer said slowly and honestly, "Penn, I am fine with that." Penn shook his head. "You think you are the hero in this story?" "I know I am in the right," Jennifer said firmly, "because I am not the one who came here looking for a fight. That was all you." Penn turned and started walking toward the exit, the security guards following, but then he stopped and turned back. "You are going to regret this." Jennifer did not flinch. "The only thing I regret is giving you this platform. Goodbye, Penn." Penn stared at her for another long moment, clearly wanting the last word, but realizing anything he said would make things worse. He turned and walked off the stage, disappearing into the wings. Jennifer stood there, her chest rising and falling with deep breaths. The audience did not know whether to applaud or stay quiet. Finally, Jennifer turned to face the camera. "We are going to take a quick break." But before the cameras could cut away, one audience member started clapping, then another, and then the entire studio was on their feet, applauding Jennifer. She looked surprised, her eyes welling up slightly before she smiled and nodded. "Thank you," she said softly. The cameras cut to commercial, but the energy in that studio had fundamentally changed. The applause continued as the commercial break stretched on, and Jennifer used those precious moments to collect herself. Her producers rushed over, checking on her, offering water. She waved them off gently, her hands still trembling slightly from the adrenaline. This was not how interviews were supposed to go, but something about the way the audience responded made her realize that maybe this moment needed to happen. When the cameras came back on, Jennifer was seated again, her composure mostly restored, though anyone paying close attention could see the emotion still lingering in her eyes. She took a breath and addressed the camera directly, her voice steady but filled with honesty. "Before we bring out our next guest," Jennifer began, "I want to take a moment to address what just happened. I know you all saw it. I know it was uncomfortable, and I know that some of you might be wondering if I did the right thing." She paused, gathering her thoughts. The studio was silent. "I have been doing this show for a while now, and I have interviewed hundreds of guests. Some interviews are great, some are just okay, and some are challenging. But what you just witnessed crossed a line. It was not about a challenging conversation or a difference of opinion. It was about respect." Her voice grew stronger. "I believe in having real conversations. I believe in asking tough questions. I believe in giving my guests a platform to share their truth. But I also believe that respect has to go both ways. I will not sit in this chair and allow someone to treat me, my team, or this audience with contempt." The audience started applauding again. But Jennifer held up her hand gently. "I want to be clear about something," she said. "I am not trying to silence anyone. I am not against people having strong opinions or pushing back on my questions. But there is a way to do that with grace and respect. What happened today was not that. And I made the decision that I had to make in that moment." She looked directly into the camera. If you are someone who has ever been talked down to, dismissed, or disrespected in your workplace, in your life, I want you to know that you do not have to accept that. You can stand up for yourself. You can set boundaries, and you can do it without apology. The emotion in her voice was palpable. Now, this show has my name on it, yes, but it is bigger than me. It is about connection, about community, about lifting each other up, and I cannot do that if I allow someone to tear us down from the inside. Jennifer took another breath. I am not perfect. I do not always get it right, but I try every single day to show up with integrity and kindness, and I hope that you all see that, even in difficult moments like this one. The studio erupted in applause again, and this time, Jennifer let it wash over her, nodding in acknowledgement. When the applause died down, she smiled. Now let us move forward. We have an incredible guest waiting, someone who actually wants to be here. The audience laughed, the tension finally breaking. Jennifer gestured toward the wings. Please welcome to the show, the talented and wonderful. As her next guest walked out, the energy shifted completely. The interview that followed was warm, engaging, and genuinely enjoyable. It was everything the previous segment was not. Jennifer was attentive and kind. Her questions thoughtful, her reactions genuine. The guest responded in kind, and the conversation flowed naturally. It was a masterclass in what an interview should be, made even more powerful by the contrast of what had come before. Throughout the rest of the show, Jennifer maintained her professionalism. But there was something different about her now. She seemed more present, more authentic, as if standing up for herself had unlocked something. The audience felt it too. Every segment that followed had an energy to it, a realness that made the show feel less like a performance and more like a conversation among friends. When the show finally wrapped and the cameras stopped rolling, the studio audience gave Jennifer another standing ovation. She stood there visibly moved, her hand over her heart. "Thank you," she said, her voice thick with emotion. "Thank you for being here, for supporting me, for understanding. This is why I do this." As the audience filed out, many stopped to speak with Jennifer, to shake her hand, to tell her how much her words meant to them. One woman, tears streaming down her face, told Jennifer that watching her stand up for herself had given her the courage to do the same in her own life. Another person thanked her for showing that boundaries were not about being mean, but about self-respect. Jennifer listened to each person, genuinely engaged with their stories, and in those moments, she knew she had made the right choice. Yes, there would be fallout. Yes, there would be think pieces and hot takes and social media debates, but she had stayed true to herself, and that mattered more than anything else. In her dressing room, Jennifer sat alone and let herself feel everything she had been holding back. The anger, the hurt, the frustration, but also the pride and the strength. She had never kicked anyone off her show before. But when pushed to that point, she had not hesitated. She had protected herself, her space, and her values. Her phone buzzed constantly with messages from friends, colleagues, and other people in the industry. Most were supportive, telling her she did the right thing. A few were more cautious, warning her about the potential backlash. She read them all, but did not respond yet. She needed this moment to just be still. There was a knock on her door, and her executive producer poked her head in. "You okay?" Jennifer nodded. "I am. I really am." "That was intense," her producer said, stepping into the room. "I have been doing this for 20 years, and I have never seen anything like that." "Neither have I," Jennifer admitted. "But it felt right. In the moment, it felt like the only thing I could do." Her producer sat down across from her. "For what it is worth, I think you handled it perfectly. You gave him multiple chances to course correct, and he just kept pushing. At a certain point, you had to protect yourself and the integrity of the show." Jennifer appreciated the validation, but she also knew that not everyone would see it that way. There are going to be people who say, "I could not handle the heat." "Let them say it," her producer said firmly. "Anyone who actually watched that interview will know the truth. You did not shut him down for having opinions. You removed him for being disrespectful." After her producer left, Jennifer sat there for a while longer, processing everything. She thought about the woman in the audience who had thanked her through tears, who had said that watching Jennifer set boundaries had changed something for her. That was worth it. That made all of this worth it. Jennifer finally picked up her phone and started crafting a statement. She wanted her voice to be part of the narrative. She typed carefully, choosing each word with intention. "Today on my show, I made the difficult decision to ask a guest to leave. It was not a decision I made lightly, but it was one I made with conviction. Respect is non-negotiable, and I will always stand up for myself, my team, and the values this show represents. Thank you to everyone who has reached out with support. She read it over several times, made a few small edits, and then posted it. Within seconds, the responses started flooding in. Support, criticism, debate, all of it swirling together. But Jennifer felt at peace with her choice. As she gathered her things and prepared to leave the studio, she took one last look around her dressing room. This space had seen so many emotions, so many moments, so many versions of herself. Today had added a new chapter to that story, one that she had not expected, but one that felt important nonetheless. Jennifer Hudson had always been a fighter. From her early days to her Oscar-winning performance to building her own talk show, she had faced challenges and overcome them with grace and determination. Today was no different. She had been tested in a new way, and she had passed that test by staying true to who she was. As she walked out of the studio and into the waiting car, she felt lighter. Somehow the weight of trying to please everyone, of avoiding conflict at all costs, had been lifted. She had learned something valuable today. Sometimes the kindest thing you can do is refuse to accept cruelty. Sometimes the strongest thing you can do is walk away. And sometimes the most authentic version of yourself emerges, not in the easy moments, but in the ones that challenge you to your core. Jennifer looked out the window as the car pulled away from the studio. The city lights beginning to twinkle in the early evening. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new conversations, new opportunities, but tonight she would rest knowing that she had honored herself, and that was enough. So, what do you think about everything that went down? Was Jennifer right to kick Penn off her show, or should she have handled it differently? Drop a comment below with your thoughts, and do not forget to subscribe, so you never miss a video. This is the kind of real, unfiltered content we bring you, and your support means everything. Let me know who is in the wrong here, Jennifer or Penn.